everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Joni Young if you're new here. Thank you very much for joining me today for this painting tutorial in acrylic. Today I'm working on an 11 by 14 double primed and stretched canvas. I've got a 1.5 inch flat brush. It's a little bit wet. I'm going to use this for the background colors, and I'm using the following. I've got some titanium white. I've also got a little bit of neon rose and some neon pink and some cobalt blue. Okay, so I'm going to start the painting by taking my blue and I'm going to apply it across the very top of the canvas, all the way from one side to the next, getting a nice coverage. I'm going to take a little bit of white, a little bit more, and I'm going to start applying the white where I left off with the blue, and then working all the way back up to the top. Okay, the next color I'm going to use is my rose with a little bit of white, and I'm going to start about 1/4 of the way down from the top. Take a little bit more. Oh, I grabbed a little bit of that pink. That's okay. I'm going to be using that as well. I just want to start working that back up into the blue. And then I picked up a little blue by doing that, and I'm going to need that for the water. You guys may recall a bioluminescence seascape I did not too long ago, depending on when you're watching this. See that pretty color it makes together? Anyways, since I've done that one, and it's quite popular, I also really enjoy painting that as much as you guys. I really have been wanting to do one in different tones, so that's why I'm kind of inspired to paint something a little bit similar today, or try to anyways, using pinks, more of a pink tone and purple. So now I'm going to start bringing more of that rose right down here. And I want this to be the beach in this area. And I'm going to take a little bit of blue. Haven't washed my brush out once yet. And I'm going to add that right along the bottom of the canvas and the edge, just along the left side here. So I really like the way that purple and blue look together. So I'm going to go ahead and mix a little bit more of that up. And I'm just going to start adding a few little strips of it in here. And then just slide my brush into that paint and get it on the very edge of my brush, right along the horizon. Pull and then let off. And if you want to create a little slope to your beach, then all you have to do is just place your brush a little bit on an angle and just gently pull like that. Okay, I'm going to go into my pink now without washing my brush off. And I'm going to come from the far right, line it up, turning my brush this way, and just pull. Pull. If it's a little streaky looking, that's fine. We want to have those little streaks in the water. I'm going to add some along the top. And then I'm going to kind of dip down like this, sweep. This is going to give a little bit more perspective, interesting perspective to the sky. So the next brush I'm going to be using is my little toothbrush here. This is what I like to use for creating snow, stars, and kind of like sparkles and what we're adding today that pretty magical looking bioluminescence in the water. So you want to make sure that you get your toothbrush wet. You want to have enough water on there that it's going to thin your paint out, but not so much that it's going to be dripping down the canvas. And I'm using titanium white, but you can use any white that you want. So I'm just going to apply the bioluminescence along the seashore. You just want to make sure that you line it up with where you want those sprays to be, and just know that it's going to be a little bit messy, so make sure you don't have anything around in case you accidentally spray something else. And then you're just going to pull back and just get all those little sprays there. And the thing about bioluminescence is that there's all this little neat quick movement in the water from it's plankton. So you're not always, how you see how we have these little lines? That is perfect, natural looking plankton for the bioluminescence, as well as having all the little splatter marks and little sprinkles here. So you like to have a little bit of both. And that scrubbing noise is just me reloading my brush. I'm using a little bit more water this time, and that will give me a bit more of a finer spray now. Traveling up along here too, I'm going to add some up in the sky for some stars. Now what a fun project this is for one of your painting nights that you have with your friends, or even for kids. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is taking a filbert brush. This one's a number 6, and if you get a little split in the middle like that, just kind of wiggle and quickly wiggle your brush like this, and it'll get back to that shape. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of white and a little bit of pink. Mix the two together like this. That nice bright neon pink. And I'm just going to start going kind of side to side. And adding some strips of this in the water. And it's okay to go over some of those little sparkles that we have. You can always reapply them too. This is just sort of our in-between stage here. Take a little bit more white this time, and I'm going to add some light right about here, moonlight, and a little bit more of my white. And you can also just kind of dab. If you have a little liner brush, that will work too, to create delicate little dots. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of blue, mix it with my pink, and make that pretty purple color again. And I'm just going to come around, kind of wiggle. Be free and flowy with your brush. So this is just a little bit of shadow in between the shoreline and all that beautiful glowing bioluminescence. I'm going to add a little bit back here. Take a little bit of water on my brush and just loosen some of that paint. I just want to add a little bit of shadows here, so I don't want to cover up all of that pink. And then we're going to go over a lot of the sparkles here. For our sand, because that bioluminescence isn't everywhere. It's just mainly on the tip of the water's edge and a little bit over here too, which we'll be adding more of. So again, just taking neon pink and a little bit of that cobalt hue. If you don't have these colors, just use any pink and blue that you have, or purple. We're going to leave that strip there for our highlight from the moon. Taking a little bit of water on my brush as well as the blue. And just by adding little scoops and little dabs like this, you can kind of create that look of footprints in the sand, or little slopes, little dips in the sand. Okay, some more pink and blue. I'm going to come in far end here and build up a little bit more shadow in the water. Remember, the shadows are really going to help bring out the light. They're going to complement each other. Okay, with a little liner brush, I'm going to take some pink and white, quite a bit on the tip of my brush. And I'm just going to take my time adding lots of little dots, individual dots, in combination with more spray from my toothbrush pretty soon. So you can add more white sometimes, and then change it up and add a little bit more pink. That way you have a few different tones. And I don't like mixing it all up to make one solid color on my palette. If you look closely, it's kind of marbled here on my brush. And then I'm going to add little wiggles. Now what happens with the bioluminescence is that there's little puddles almost, little patches of it separate from the seashore, like the water's edge in here. So we'll just add a few little patches here. So this can take some patience and some time, but it's really relaxing and it's really well worth the outcome. So if you're one of those people that wants to do something in 10 minutes, I don't know if this will be a painting for you unless you're working on something really like a really small canvas. I guess it would be a lot quicker on a small canvas. Now, if you're interested in these mini liner brushes, this one that I'm using is for nail art. So if you're having trouble finding micro mini liner brushes, and they can often be, well, they can be a little bit hard to find and out of stock and expensive if you're getting them in the art section. But if you look for nail art supplies, it's a little bit cheaper. So I'm going to add another little patch here and then a few little extra sparkles here and here. And the neon paints that I'm using today are the same brand I've been using for almost 10 years now, Holbein or Holbein, however you want to pronounce it. And I always have a link below for those. They're really nice to use. A little goes a long way and they last. So the thing about neon paint is that it doesn't always hold up after time. It can lose its luminosity and neon finish that it has. So it's worth it to spend a little bit extra on these. Not always for everything, but I find for these ones you'll get your money's worth out of them. Okay, I'm going to take another little dab here of my pink and white. And create some little squiggles, little lines. Little dots and dabs as well. And we're going to bring some light way back here, right below the horizon. Now, of course, bioluminescence is typically blue, but I like fantasy paintings and just having fun doing different takes on things. So that's why I'm experimenting in these colors today. I'm going to go back to my number 6 filbert brush. Take a little bit more of my white with a little bit of, just a tiny bit of pink, and there's a bit of pink that's wet on there still that I can use. And then go back over to the pink and the blue to make that really pretty purple color. And all I'm doing is just swirling around, kind of outlining some of these sparkles here. Okay, then I'm going to take blue, a little bit more blue and white, just a tiny bit of pink. I've got some water on my brush. I'm going to add some more shadows here in the water to help with the contrast. It's going to dry darker than this. A little bit more. Bit of white and bit of pink. Just so that it gradually blends in to everything else and all those colors flow nicely together. Okay, time for some more pink now. And I'm going to start blending this in. A little bit of white in there, in between here and here. I'm going to slide my brush and make everything start to blend in. So we go dark to lightest. Back over to my toothbrush, add another spray. Time for the next layer of our blue and pink. Just making that same shade of purple again. Gonna loop around. And then little dabs, little short brush strokes. And then little wiggles. Gentle, gentle scumble. Add a little bit of white. So just taking a bit of white and adding that to that purple color we made and then we just applied. That's kind of a smoky grape color. Okay, I think we're ready to start coming in with our palm trees. So for the palm trees, I'm going to be using a mixture of black and yellow. I'm going to show you guys how to make this one here, light olive green. It's going to be very similar to this. A lot of you guys don't have this specific shade that I use a lot, and so I'm going to show you how you can make it with what you already have. So I've got a primary yellow and I've got Mars black. Okay, so start start showing you just by mixing a little bit of black in there. And if we have less and less black, we'll get a lighter green color, that really pretty olive green. Okay, sorry if there's a glare. I've got a shiny paper palette I'm using. So I want it to be darker on the darker side, so I'm going to use more black. And remember, acrylic paint will dry darker. So I'm just going to start by adding a line that slopes down. We want it to slope the perspective to make it get farther and farther and farther away. And then it's going to be closer to us, so we're going to start bringing more right here in the foreground. And we're going to have some palm leaves here. We just want to have it this nice dark color first, and you can make it a little patchy, leave some of that thinner, translucent olive green color showing. And then just little taps, just with the very tip of the brush. Okay, so see the perspective that we've created just by doing that? And we're going to tap over part of that shadow there. Okay, it's time for the palm tree. And I'm just going to use more black. I want it to be thick and not see-through. So I think I'll have one that comes up right here. Maybe a few little ones here. See how you apply wet on wet and it just kind of scrapes off that wet paint, and you get that light color for the tree trunks that looks just perfect. We're going to add a little dark area here in the center. It's just a little bit thicker, and then out and down, out and down. Twist and let off. I'm going to add a few more palm leaves down in here, and of course a few here. Now you can use a smaller brush if you want. I've got a size 0, not that I'm using right now. This one is my number 6 still. But you can get these filberts in all sorts of sizes. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more yellow, go down, and just add a few individual, kind of just slice into it. Work out that excess paint out of your brush just by pushing and pulling, or wash it out in between if it's getting a little bit too full in there. So if you haven't checked out the first version of this that I did in blue and turquoise, you definitely should. The colors are just so eye-catching, and it really, really glows and pops. I'm hoping to get a similar look with this one. I might have to work a little bit more on color I'm going to add a little bit of white and that light olive green that I made over here using more yellow and less black. Get it on the tip of my brush like that. And just add a few highlights here. Now the highlights are coming from, I'm thinking there's a full moon over there, and that's casting that light. So you don't have to have too much highlights. I'm adding a little bit more than I normally would. I was doing my tutorials just so you guys can learn by watching. And also because I'm applying wet paint to wet paint, so I know that I need to add a little bit more because it's going to dry a little bit darker. Okay, I'm just going to add a few little dabs here and there. And then down in here, add some palm leaves. I've got a whole playlist of tropical seascapes, underwater paintings, everything, water, ocean. If you guys want to learn a little bit more, and if you love painting seascapes. And I'm going to add a little bit more, just black in here, just for some extra shadows. Just black now. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of that pink and white on the tip of my brush. I'm going to just tap it out like that, make it a little stipply like on the bottom. And I'm going to tap, tap, tap. All along the water's edge. Come in with some more pink. And then gently pull and sweep. Because it's so far away here, it's going to be a little bit blurrier. Add little dabs of the pink down in here and here. Just play up on the color that I want my bioluminescence to be. And this time, instead of blue, because I did blue and turquoise last time, I'm doing pink. We can make up our own paintings and make up what colors we want our things to be in our paintings. That's what I love about painting, there's no rules. And I'm showing you different brushes that you can use. I'm demonstrating using different brushes so that all of you can paint along. No matter what brush that you have, you can do this with a little stipple brush, mop brush, fan brush, or a little filbert like this. More of my pink. Not pushing too hard. I'm going to take a little bit more blue, pink, and a little bit of black. Just the smallest amount like this will give us even more depth in our shadow here and help our glowing plankton to really show up. Come back and add some more white in here. And bring it up just a little bit higher like this. And back over to my yellow and black. I'm going to add a palm leaf that comes out right here. I feel like I just needed something right there. And I'm going to take that rose and I'm going to start adding it in along with those other colors. I'm going to glaze over the sand. And then I'm going to go right into my pink. It's pretty thick. And it's up to you if you want to apply it in a thin coat or you want it to be sort of textured like. A white, just the tiniest bit of white in there. So I really want the white or the lightest pinks to show up more. So I've got to add a little bit more saturation, so less white and more color right here, and then leave it nice and bright white on the very edge. And then a thin glaze of this, so just a bit of watered down pink and rose over dried paint. And I'm going to go back over to my liner brush, take some white, dab in some more sparkles. You could actually use a little bit of glitter. If I could find mine, I was looking all over for it. I was going to add some glitter to this because in my last one I talked about that and I mentioned how that would look really pretty. you guys are enjoying this tutorial so far. And drop a comment below, say hi, let me know if you have any questions. I always like hearing from you guys, and I take the time to read your comments and questions. And I'm going to take a little bit of blue with my rose, a little bit of pink in there even. And I'm going to go over the top. My brush has a little bit of water in it just to help that paint flow. And we'll come in from the left side and do the same thing. You could even make it look like there's some clouds in here, especially in this area where it's a little bit hard to get in there. Just by kind of going around and moving that paint around, we get a little bit of a few little dark shadows for clouds. And that's just going to add even more atmosphere to this painting. Add a little, just toning this color down here with a little bit of rose and pink, wherever it looks a little bit too blue. I'll gently sweep over part of that highlight there. Okay, well, I'm going to call this painting done. This was so much fun. I really like the way this turned out. I don't know which one I like better, this one or the blue and teal one. I'll have a link below for that one or at the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'm looking forward to showing you how to paint my next landscape. So be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Bye!